can somebody who's such a skilled and powerful professional negotiator speak so softly? And then how can somebody who is factually the highest ranking African American executive in the National Football League, how can that person be in a league that's known for glitz and bling and speed? How can somebody present themselves so humbly? One of the greatest joys of doing what I do for a living is just getting an inside perspective on how good leaders like you and me can consistently repeat things that we refer to as goodness on a regular basis. I really think that the comments we're going to hear from Kevin Warren today are going to convince you that we're in the presence of someone who's on his way to greatness. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Kevin Warren.
This is a mic. Can you hear me okay? It really is a pleasure to be here today. And I asked Paul this morning, because he knows this group better than I do, what kind of conversation, and this is not a speech, this is not someone coming up here reading off of notes, what kind of conversation could I have with you today? Could I have a cocktail party conversation where you meet people? How are you doing today? Oh, great, good. How, and you're out of the door. Or I call it a long plane flight conversation where you can get to know someone a little bit better, unless you're like me, where you just get against the window, put your headset on, and tell the flight attendant, I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty, and let me just get some sleep. Or thirdly, can you have a family discussion? And Paul assured me that we could have a family conversation. So hopefully, and I think he has given me about 20 minutes or so, at the end of this 20 minutes, if you never think about me, and not me personally, think about some of the things I say today ever again, which we meet people like that in our lives, then I really haven't been able to articulate what I wanted to articulate. But this is an awesome environment, and I was going through the 7 F's this morning, and by the way, if you haven't read Paul's book, you should. He had a statement in the latter part of the book that really impacted me. He told a story about the importance of your positive words to people. And he told the story about a young man who, as his father was on his hospital bed, his dad looked over at the nurse and said, I don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to do something to change the world. And that young man is now a CEO of a major $100 million corporation. And he talked about how those words that his father spoke that day really resonated in his soul. So I say that, it's not a plug for the book. I don't get any money from the book, and not yet. But I would recommend that you do get it. But I was looking at it this morning, and I was going down this morning. I said, okay, my faith. It is very, very important to me. Those around me know that. I'm not perfect. I start off each day seeking perfection, but by no means have ever reached perfection. And it's interesting, I've been carrying this praying cross in my pocket for years. And my wife will tell you, yesterday, I accidentally left this in a pair of jeans. And so when I got to work yesterday, I felt like I didn't have my watch or ring or anything on because I was reaching in my pocket during meetings. Because when I'm in meetings sometime in negotiations, I'll put my hand in there and reach on and just ask for guidance so I don't say some things that I shouldn't say, or don't choke anyone that I shouldn't choke. So, and I didn't have it yesterday, but I did make it through the day. And then I thought about our family, and I'm just grateful that my wife Greta is here. We've been married for many, many years. I won't say how many, but many, many years, but coming up on 22 years, and a lot of moving. And she's been always a support system. One thing, the reason why I married her, and I tell people, is that she was one of the few people that I've met and still to this day who's not impressed with me. And so because of that, I say that seriously. That's really important. You need people around you to tell you exactly, and anyone who's dealt with her knows that. She tells me exactly how she feels. And I thought about the finances. The market has been doing great. Our portfolio was up last night. I know it opens up here in about 15 minutes. So finances, everything's in order there. Fitness, I was able to get up like I do every morning. This morning a little bit earlier than normal, but I got my workout in. And that's my time that I absolutely look forward to to every morning. It's important not only from a physical standpoint, but just from a mental health standpoint. And friends, being with people here today, and I got people here from work who I truly, people know me. I don't have a lot of friends. I don't get close to a lot of people. But the people who are here, who work with me on a daily basis, who I have to ask for forgiveness at least once a week on, I do consider them dear friends, and I'm so happy that they're here today. Fun. People don't think I have a lot of fun because I work a lot of hours, but breaking barriers and changing the world, trying to change the world is fun to me. And then future is what I want to talk to you about today. There's so many things I could talk about. I could stand up here for probably 8 hours and not get through a piece of kind of my story. But I'll get through it as quickly as I possibly can, and hopefully something that I say today will change your life. Paul mentioned to me when I came, he said 3 things I want you to talk about today. Is one, how'd you get here? Secondly, is there anything in your life significant right now that you're doing? And thirdly, kind of where you're going from here. So I thought about those questions, and I said, there are a lot of people in life who answer those questions literally and figuratively, and that's how they live their life, but in a very shallow fashion. So I thought about it because I can be a little joker sometime. When Paul said, how'd you get here? I said, I drove, And the second question, is there anything in your life that you're doing now of significance? I'm breathing. And the third one, where are you going from here? I'm going back to the office. And there are a lot of people that approach their life that way, but I know that's not what he wanted me to do, so I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. So how did I get here? Let me tell you a very quick Reader's Digest version of my story. I won't go back to my grandparents because that even gets more interesting, although there is a little snippet in there about my grandmother today. But let's start with my mom and dad. So my father, he's a World War II veteran, played football in college at Arizona State. And in 1947, Arizona State was playing Texas El Paso University. And Arizona State got a notice from the president of UTEP and said, don't bring your black players this weekend. And ironically, the 2 black players on Arizona State's team at the time was my father and my uncle. And they said, leave them at home. Don't bring them to the game because we fear for their safety. And Arizona State in 1947, which really should be a book or a movie, made the determination at that point in time they were not going to play, nor were they going to schedule any more games with schools that didn't allow teams to bring their black players with them. So my dad went on to get his bachelor's degree at Arizona State, his master's, and his PhD. He was the second scholarship athlete at Arizona State University to letter from an African-American standpoint. But he's done a lot of great things, and ironically, he was just named one of the top 50 football players in the history of ASU, but vice mayor in Phoenix. But among all that, he was just an absolutely wonderful, wonderful person. And even with all the things that he went through in his life, I never heard him complain once. And if I look at my mom, her mother was from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. Her father was a soldier at Fort Huachuca, and she came home in 8th grade. And her dad left. Never saw him again. Never talked to him again. And that just created a sense of pain I can see for her entire life. But again, with all that she went through, she never complained. So I was the youngest of 7 kids. And there was an experience that I had as a 10-year-old, 9 or 10-year-old. My grandmother, my mom's mom, who was from Mexico, was a maid. And she would occasionally take us, especially me because I was the younger one, with her. And I don't vividly recall if we were actually cleaning that day. I believe we were. But for whatever reason, we had a chance to go to one of her customers' house. And while we were there, we were getting ready to leave. And I asked my grandmother if I could ask the lady if I could have a drink of water. And she said, sure. So she asked, could my grandson have a drink of water? And I said, she said, yes. So I took a drink of water and rinsed out the glass and cleaned it up. And then I wanted another drink of water, and I went back, and I noticed when I went to look in the trash can to throw something away that the lady, and that's why I have this glass here, had thrown my glass away. And it was a glass that it looked just like this, and it was something that we really didn't have these kind of glasses at our house. We had kind of just clear glasses, but it was a beautiful glass because I noticed it. And so I thought maybe that I had cracked it, and I felt bad because I said, there's no way my grandmother could afford to pay for this. She would always tell us that. So I took it out of the trash and and cleaned it again. And I noticed before we left that it was back in the trash can. And I couldn't understand it. So I asked my grandmother I apologized, and I'm sorry that I broke the glass. She said, you didn't break the glass. You didn't break. Lady threw the glass away for reasons that really are shameful. And it's unfortunate that as an 8 or 10-year-old kid that you have to learn this lesson. But that day, and it really wasn't until 2 years ago when I went to my College Hall of Fame that I even told that story, and it shocked a lot of my family members because I had harbored that inside of me for many, 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 many years. And that was a fire that really woke me up every morning to succeed, and not only succeed for success, but succeed to be in a position to help other people. And fortunately, that opportunity, and I say it was an opportunity, really taught me a couple lessons. Along with a car accident 2 years later, I was hit by a car as a 12-year-old kid, minding my own business, riding my bike. A lady jumped the curb and hit me and broke my femur, and I was in a body cast for 6 months and in traction. It was a nightmare. Gained 85 pounds on a 12-year-old frame and really messed with my self-esteem, and it was an absolute nightmare. But I was able to deal with it pretty well. And so those were two experiences early on that taught me life's not fair. It doesn't owe us anything. It owes us zero. And when we start out every day, we better learn how to be resilient. We better learn how to be tough. We better learn how to deal with very sensitive issues. And I don't mean to make anyone uncomfortable about here, but as I said, Paul told me we could have a family conversation. So one of the things I learned through those experiences as kids, and my parents always taught me, don't try to hit the home run. If you hit a home run, great. Don't try to hit the home run, whether that's in your personal life, your work life, your investing life. Just be steady, consistent, and reliable. Those are the people that we work with every day. If you thought through all the people that you admire in the workforce, you don't want an employee that comes in and gives some phenomenal presentation on Monday and then you can't find them till Thursday. You want someone who's there, who does it day after day from a leadership standpoint. And so because of that, I constantly think of a man named Joseph Henry. Anyone know who Joseph Henry is in here? If you did, you'd be pretty impressive, but I love history. Joseph Henry in 1853 created the first electronic doorbell. And why does that matter? Is that you think still to this day, basically there's something that was created almost 200 years ago we still use every day. Why? It's just a simple deal. If you go to someone's house, you need to let them know that you're at the door. And so many times in life, we as leaders try to create something that is just going to end up you being on the cover of Forbes or Fortune magazine. You don't need to do that. If it happens, so be it. But my parents always kind of put in my head, just focus on creating the doorbell. Do something that's lasting, that's simple, that's lasting, that's good, that people need, that will be around for a very, very long time. So that's a brief story of kind of how I got here. Again, I could talk about 10 hours on a bunch of things on how I got here, but that gives you, I'm limited by my time today. Second item, what do I do on a daily basis that's significant? Well, we're in the middle of building a new stadium. I have a lot of projects that we do at work. We're trying to build an organization to win a Super Bowl. I've been very fortunate and blessed in a 15-year NFL career, to win playoff games, to win a Super Bowl. I have a Super Bowl ring, a trophy. But a lot of people ask me, why don't you wear your Super Bowl ring more often? I mean, some people ask me, it's almost like I should keep my Super Bowl trophy in my car so I can come out and show you. And I tell people why I don't is really, those things are really insignificant. Because it's not what I do on a daily basis that really matters. It really is not. It's not that important. This is not life, death, brain surgery, tumors, cancer. That's why in October I try to wear as much pink as I possibly can. You have breast cancer, that's serious, that's significant. What I do on a daily basis, fortunately I chose an industry that people in society like and are willing to pay a lot of money for, but from a significant standpoint, at the end of the day, whether teams win or lose. And I love asking people, tell me who won the Super Bowl last year? You know, who won the Super Bowl 2 years ago? Who was the NCAA basketball championship winner 2 years ago? People can't tell. Who won the World Series 3 years ago? Can't tell you. And fortunately, the way that our brain is wired, and I've done a lot of research on it, we as humans need stimulation, and entertainment is important. So I'm in that industry. But what I do on a significant basis is my job allows me to do other things that are significant. And I'll give you a quick one. And again, I could talk a lot about this. There's a school here in town, and I'll get real with you, Lucy Laney Elementary School. Phenomenal school. My wife volunteers there. We've been fortunate over the last 2 years to donate 1,400 backpacks. We had a backpack program, and we put it together, and I was thinking, you know, they may use it, and people show up with Dora the Explorer backpacks. And when you go to school the first day to hand out 700 backpacks, and you see probably 5 or 6 kids or less with backpacks and no school supplies, and bringing their school supplies, what little bit they do have, in a plastic bag that they got at a grocery store, that's significant. That is significant. And to see these kids basically over a backpack, and that's why I get sometimes disappointed when I read articles and they say, oh, life is fair and equal. Our kids are blessed to go to private school. It is no way that we can expect kids in certain environments to compete with the kids that where our kids go to school, and the education and smart boards and field trips to Washington, D.C. and French immersion programs, and we want to say life is fair. It's not fair. So these kids in Lucy Laney, they've gotten their glass thrown away all the time. When I talk to the principal, and I'll get real right now, and when she tells me, I say, how can we help? And she says, if you can go to the store and just bring a bunch of just supplies, underwear, bras, panties, feminine supplies. I'm saying, well, what do you need all that for? She said, when we have young girls who are taking sponges out of the kitchen to use as feminine supplies throughout the day, or rolling up tube socks to use as feminine supplies, that's real. And that may make you a little bit uncomfortable, but that's real. So what I do on a daily basis is not significant. It really isn't. I've been blessed to be able to travel to all these games and win games. It's a game. It's allowed me a platform to do other things at places like Lucy Laney. When you have kids sleeping in cars all night who are homeless and have to get up and come and go to school, that stuff is significant. And so when I think about it every day, because so many times in life is that people don't realize when you see an iceberg, 70 to 90% of the iceberg is underwater. So you may see a little piece of ice above the ocean, but the majority of the iceberg, up to 90%, is underwater. And what we're trying to do is help people who have had their glasses thrown away to navigate those icebergs. The third thing, as Paul asked me to talk about, where do I go from here? And I'm very blunt. People know who work with me know that. I'm very blunt. My goal from here is to be in a group that buys the National Football League team, that I can be the president and CEO. We have never had a person that looks like me run a pro football team. Never been a black man or black woman or person of color to be a president or CEO of an NFL football team. And so I've set that goal to do it. If I'm the first, great. If I'm not, if I'm the second, third, fourth, but that is a goal. And it's not a goal for all the things that come along with it. It's a goal because the platform for me will be raised and we can help change the world even more. And so that's why I've always told my kids, you got to use all your resources. Be aware. So when I walk in a beautiful country club like this, which is absolutely beautiful, I've never been here today, and I go to the restroom, I look on the wall, and I look at all those faces of the past presidents. There's nobody that looks like me up there. And I'm not offended about that. That's just the way the world is. And if my kids were here today, I would walk them over there and say, this is the environment that you live in. So in order to succeed, you better not believe the hype. You better understand that you got to be better than people that you deal with on a daily basis. You got to work harder because this world is not fair. My biggest concern right now for our two young kids, they haven't had their glasses thrown away yet. And we're trying to create environments where somebody does throw their glass away. Because they're accustomed to flying in first class and staying in 5-star hotels and eating at Capitol Grill on a regular basis and sitting in suites on game day. And I sit here and I pray every day, how can we get our kids to be able to have the urgency that my wife and I have? And that's a concern of mine. So where I want to go from here is I want to be in a group that owns a team, that I can help run that team. Not for me personally, but just to raise the level and raise the platform of things that we have been able to do at Lucy Laney. And when I think about that, I think about the dragonfly. Dragonfly has 6 legs. 6 legs, and it's one of the few insects that cannot and does not walk. Now, how can you have 6 legs and you don't walk? I don't understand that, but I've thought about that. These are the crazy things I think about when I work out every day. I think about that, and I was thinking about that, and I'm thinking, how can that absolutely happen? That you have an insect that has 6 legs and can't walk. And I think what's happened over time is that because somewhere along the way, because they're such good flyers, they stopped using their legs. And they handed that down on a generational basis. And over time, they just got in the habit of not using their legs. But I would challenge everyone in here, you have attributes and so much talent, you got to use it. Even if you're successful doing what you're doing and how you're doing, there are other things that you have inside you that even can make you even better. So don't be like the dragonfly. Use everything God has given you. Because there's so many things out there, so many people that we can help, so many good stuff that we can do. And as I told Paul, this stadium that we're building is a legacy moment. A lot of people can't differentiate between irrelevance, importance, and then legacy. There are things we do on a daily basis. What kind of toothpaste you use is really irrelevant. It's irrelevant. There's some things that are important that you have to do. Take care of your family, work, all those other things. Then there are legacy opportunities, raising your kids, helping the community. There's certain things are a legacy standpoint. I tell my kids all the time, building this stadium is a legacy moment because it will be up much longer than I'm here. Our kids will be driving, flying back into town, and I want to be proud to say that I did everything I possibly could on a daily basis to change this world. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be here today. There's so much more that I would want to say, but I would really, really challenge you. Kind of evaluate how you got to where you got in this room today. Why are you here? Why are you here? Where are you going from here? Honestly. Time waits for no one. Where are you going to go from here? And that's why I love this Carpe Diem, seize the day. I love movies. I don't get a chance to watch any because of my schedule, but I love movies. I have a whole list, probably like about 800 movies I'm going to watch one day when I check in Susan's kind of retirement place. But one of the movies that I have seen that I absolutely love was Dead Poets Society. And you remember when Robin Williams brought everybody up. That's a great, great scene. And what did he say? Seize the day, boys. Seize the day, boys. But the second verse he said, which was powerful, was make your life extraordinary. Seize the day. Seize the day. So it's been a pleasure to be here. I wish I could stay longer, but Paul's giving me that look, so God bless you all, and thank you very much.
What was your glass moment? That's our discussion topic for the next 10 minutes at your table. Ready, set, go.
Kevin, it should be totally obvious, but I wore the purple jacket for you today. 2 years ago, we had Scott Anderson, the CEO of Patterson Companies, here as our speaker. And Scott took a look at me in this jacket and he said, "What are you, Ziggy Jr.?" So let's start there. How are things at the Vikings today?
It's been, I'm getting my thought. This is my 9th season here. And I was fortunate enough to be the lawyer and business advisor in the Will family group that helped them purchase this team. So I worked diligently for a year and a half, back and forth to New York, back and forth to Minnesota, and my wife will attest to it. Our hours were insane then, just crazy. But we ended up closing the deal, and it was an experience of a lifetime. And so I have a different viewpoint, unlike a normal employee. So I'm not there at work just to, maximize my yearly salary and get a check or whatever the case may be. I basically gave the presentation to the Will family about this team that was for sale in Minnesota. So, I go back to even before they even knew that the team was for sale. So when you ask those questions, that's why I had to reflect, because I look at it differently. I don't go by what's our win-loss record. We could be doing better. I hope we play well on Monday and win. And I look at it from a global standpoint. So when you ask how we're doing, I can give you a cocktail answer or family answer. And the answer is that, our biggest challenge is to continually seek to build a world-class organization. That's where my head is. So I'm not here for a job. I moved here from Arizona. I'm not here for a job. I'm really here from a legacy standpoint, one, to win a Super Bowl, to bring Minnesota their first Super Bowl victory, but build a franchise that people can look at, not only in the sports world, but in the business world, to say, boy, they do it the right way.
Yeah,
and so we still have work to do, and a lot of work to do, but that's what my goal is, and hopefully I can accomplish it before I'm no longer on the face of this earth.
So you have run into a lot of leaders, people that we would read about or see on TV. So what leader in your life today is impacting you in a positive way, and how?
That's a great question. My parents, although they both have passed, are still lead me on a daily basis. The standard that they set. I'm close to my wife's parents, my in-laws. I consider them my parents. It's a whole nother story, incredible story of what her family has accomplished. And I lean on my wife as a leader. My kids. And there are certain people that I have in my life that I just really look to from a leadership standpoint. Tony Dungy has become someone who I really rely on, heavily, and not because of who he is, but just really, what he stands for. And then all of a sudden, I just love stories. That's why I like the story, that I shared about Joseph Henry, about the doorbell. But Glenn James is another one of my heroes. I don't know if people know who he is, but anyone know who Glenn James in here? I love asking those questions.
Yeah.
But Glenn James.
Makes you feel smart.
No, it doesn't. It makes me feel that I can share something that you learned today that you didn't know. So my intelligence is low. But Glenn James is a guy. And when I say it, you'll figure it out. He's the homeless guy in Boston. That a couple weeks ago, this guy was working, lost his job from a government job, had been homeless, having medical difficulties, and he goes to the mall and sees a backpack. And in the backpack, it had $42,800 cash and traveler's checks. This is a homeless man. Homeless man. Let me repeat it one more time. Homeless man finds a backpack, $42,000, never would have been traced, and he turns it in. Turns it in. And what ends up happening, and these are the lessons I try to teach my kids. And I gave chapel to the University of Minnesota Gophers team, and I told the story. Whatever those backpacks are in our life, turn them in, because it's amazing. He turns it in, and I just looked online last night. I think they've collected $148,000 in donations, almost 4 times. So by doing the right thing, this is a homeless man. He ends up getting blessed 4 times with what he would have gotten if he had kept the backpack. 4 times. And his name is golden. So when you talk about, leaders, I'm not, if it happens to be CEO, yes. But it's the guys like Glenn James that I think about every day when I'm faced with challenges, to say, if I were a homeless person and I'm trying to survive and I got medical difficulties, I need eyeglasses and I got vertigo and I'm living in a homeless shelter and I find $42,000, then I'm going to go and give it back. But it's just another lesson. When you do those kind of things in a month, 4 times what has come in. And so asking your question, not one person, I just get, I mean, people inspire me. And so I just try to kind of capture those moments, and when I get them, then I read about them, and I love those, stories, because
I'm glad
it's real
you said
stories.
that, because I was going to sit here until you said I was influencing.
Really, you do. I mean, your book influenced me.
That's great.
I mean, your book influenced me. Like I said, there's wonderful stories in there. It made me kind of come up with, evaluate my checklist.
Good.
So I say all that to say that
So let's talk about 7S for a second. So what do you do for fun, really, outside of work?
My kids, our kids, are really, as anyone in here knows, who if you have active high school kids who are students and in sports, I guess that really becomes your fun. I mean, I love my date nights with my wife. I'm by and large kind of homebody. I don't have a big circle.
So what? You mentioned you don't have a lot of friends. Why? Why don't you have a lot of friends?
I think it's a combination of factors. And what's that African proverb to say? If you want to go
Want to go fast, go alone.
Go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The problem that I've had is that when I lay out the plan of kind of where I want to go far, people tap out. So I think that's what happened, is just the standards. I mean, I truly try to live every day like it was my last day. I think the biggest mistake that I've seen, and my mother, who passed in December, I flew home and spent 4 or 5 days with her in hospice. And I'll say this, if you've never spent time in hospice, you've never lived. And I'm being honest with you. I would walk the halls at night, and it was an incredible experience because you would see people in the room, a couple very wealthy people. And then, I'd be up most of the night, and then I would take a break to go to the gym and work out and come back, and I'd see someone in there, cleaning the floor with ammonia. And I say, Mr. Smith, where is he? They say, oh, he passed. And so the other thing I noticed is that in hospice, no one, when you walk by someone's room, no one said, hey, let me show you a picture of my private jet, or, hey, I got a really nice Rolex I just want to show you, And people there were down to the basics of family and relationships. And so that week that I spent there changed my life. And Kathy Paper, who thank you for introducing me to Paul, but she said something that she was at a seminar yesterday or the day before, and they said the loneliest moments in your life are the 5 minutes before you speak and the 5 minutes before you die. But it was interesting because it made me think about that one of the things that broke my heart is I heard a man who I had been there for about 4 days and had done extremely well, and I heard him literally begging on the phone with one of his kids to bring his phone book because he wanted to call some people to say goodbye. And I get emotional thinking about it, but I don't even know this guy. I know he had built an incredible business. But now I don't know if they bought it, but to be in your last days and begging with your kid to bring your phone, all you want to do is call people. And he was the guy, I went for a workout, I came back, and shit, they had the windows up and shades, and people were in there cleaning, gone. And so I just have promised myself, and I know it drives people crazy, is that I am not going, when they throw me in the ground or however they burn me, whatever they do, or, I don't know, drag me on the back of a boat or whatever. But one thing people will not say is that, boy, he kind of left, he left a half steaking. I'm going to just try to take advantage of every opportunity and really touch as many people's lives as you possibly can. Because otherwise, what is this? What is it worth?
Let's give it up for Kevin Warren.